Yeah, interested faces. We have a fantastic talk today. So thank you so much for coming over, Jochen. Jochen Hartmann, he's professor of digital marketing at TUM, so Technical University of Munich. Jochen was before assistant professor in Groningen, did his PhD in Hamburg, but he's been all over the place. He's been at Columbia Business School, he's been in Israel, and his work is, I think, most renowned for working with unstructured data. So a couple of high impact papers in marketing, on processing, especially text data. And I think some of the things that are most impressive to me, I mean, you're still sort of starting out with your career in a way, but you have accumulated so many citations already for the IGM paper, the JMR paper on brand selfie. So I feel you're always at the top notch methodologically and transferring these new topics and also new methods also to the marketing field. And it's a huge pleasure to have you. And I think it's also a great opportunity for all of us to connect in the afternoon for the one-on-one meetings together with Jochen. So make good use of the time slots that you have to spend some time with you. So we're super excited to have you, and the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Christian, for this warm and grand opening. So it's really a great honor to be here. And also based on the first conversations I had this morning, I think this is the place to be if you work on technology and behavioral science. So it's really a great pleasure to be here, and I look forward to all our conversations and your feedback on this presentation and this project. It's joint work with Shunyan Zhang from Harvard Business School, as well as Odette Netzer, my mentor, co-author from Columbia. So I spent quite some time of my PhD in New York, and that was really a time that also shaped my PhD, and I would even say academic path. And we are studying the effects of ambiguity in digital advertising. This is a seminar. Please feel free to interrupt at any time, raise any points, questions, critiques. At some point we have some answers, but as you know, in research you typically have more questions than answers. So I'm also looking forward to your questions. What is ambiguity? Ambiguity is not telling consumers what product is being sold, and it's quite a common marketing strategy. You see one example on the left-hand side, which is, if you look very closely, you will see it's an ad for a beauty product, but at first glance you really don't know what's going on with the bird over there. And the other one, has any one of you seen this right-hand example? There's like a digital ads going viral over the internet with different types of vegetables. And here in this example, it's a, how do you say? Yes, something like that. And the gut doctor, I beg Americans to throw out this vegetable now. Here it's for all kinds of vegetables and crazy images. So the question is really, what is this about, right? And we are, so it's quite common, and also in the data set we analyze, we see many of these examples where you look at the image and you're like, what product is being sold here? But the core question is now, what's the optimal strategy of employing ambiguity as a marketing technique in the multi-step and multi-modal purchase funnels that we encounter in the online environment, right? So it's not, I go offline to a store and I purchase a product, but it's, I'm in a cluttered online environment. I see these banner ads, and I see the ad, which consists of an image and text. So this is multimodal. I guess I don't have to explain what multimodal is here in this context. You working with voice data, text data, image data, sensor data. So this is multimodal in the sense that we observe the image and the text. And then consumers click and they end up on a landing page, and ideally they convert. And conversions can be all kinds of things. It can be subscribing on a paywall, or it can be purchases. And that's a bit the complexity. Now, theoretically, ambiguity can be a double-edged sword, right? So let's look at this weird, ambiguous ad again. On the one hand, it's plausible to expect that such an ad arouses curiosity, right? So you want to know, what's this vegetable about that I need to throw out? On the other hand, it may also result in, like, let's call it clickbait resistance or confusion. It's okay, I don't know what's going on, so I better stay away from this ad. So once you've decided to click, then also in terms of the conversions, theoretically, it's plausible to expect, or there's some work dating back to the 90s, which says if you encountered ambiguous information, that you're more likely to process the information that follows, because there is this notion of ambiguity relief. There's ambiguity, and you want to be relieved from this tension of not knowing what's going on. On the other hand, imagine now you clicked on this, and then your expectations are not met. Let's say, what could you expect if you click on this ad? I mean, what would you expect? What's on the landing page?
Some information on why you should go out and which vegetable it is.
Exactly, that's the expectation why you click. And still, there might be a large heterogeneity in expectation. Maybe some of you even think, I don't know, it could be for knives, or I don't know. Let's think about broadly. In a sense, it promises something, but it's still unclear. And let's say this is suddenly about some medicine. So it's really like the clickbait and plot twist kind of ad. And then your expectations are not met. Let's call them bad customers are attracted. Bad in the sense that they don't meet the product, and then they don't convert. Why would some firms have ads which don't convert? There are some advertising platforms which are really optimized on clicks, and we are also collaborating with these advertisers. And if the system incentivizes clicks, then it may encourage the distribution of these kinds of ads. Yeah.
So so I'm assuming you're probably focused more on the response part, right?
Yes.
So what happens in the market,
yes.
people click and so forth.
Yes.
But do you know something about the motivation behind this from companies? So why are they doing this in the first place?
Yes.
Is it because there's just the more competition you have in the market, the more you need to stand out in a way?
Yes.
So is there some competition and tension related stuff that is explaining why are firms doing this?
Yes. So we are actually very closely collaborating with both the publisher, which distributes all these ads, as well as an advertising agency, which is collaborating with clients and distributing. And we asked exactly the same question, because first, why do you do it in the first place? And why is it such a common phenomenon? And it's not only about clickbait. It's really like regular products like solar panels, hearing aids, and it's employed across all categories, while this one is a clear like kind of clickbait story in a way. And what they say, not even in this cluttered context you have to stand out, but even within your own campaign. Imagine you sell solar panels, and at some point, maybe some of you have seen like the solar panel ads, or especially in Germany, you see it a lot, like for these like solar panel rental business model. There's some fatigue even within companies. So right, if you show a solar panel all the time, maybe at some point you need to show a sun, or you need to show something which is ambiguous and something new. So I guess that's somehow addressing your question, but that's from the advertiser side, our understanding is it's more like a trial and error process, and like clarity doesn't work, so let's try something new. Yeah.
What do you mean by fatigue within companies? Is it that the managers get bored?
No, that the consumer side get bored. If I see like over months, I always see the solar panel ad, and at some point there's some repetition across consumers, then you need to show something new. So it's not just standing out from your competition or from different advertisers competing for the same space. Kind of, yes, but not in the positive way that the more I see, the more I'm lucky, but more in a I need some new stimulus. Yeah. That's the, let's say, practical view in a way, because we had exactly this interview. Yeah, so there are different possibilities, and we want to test these possibilities empirically. And for this purpose, we analyze a large-scale firm-generated digital marketing context. As Christian mentioned, I started with user-generated content on social media, and this is firm-generated content. So it's we observe 50,000 unique image text pairs, and we define these image text pairs as ads. Right? It's always these combinations. And the cool thing is we observe twin ads. Imagine you're an advertiser for solar panels, and then you say, okay, I have the solar panel with a text, and then the advertiser thinks, okay, let's maybe also have the sun in like an ABCDE test. They just run them, then there's a horse race, one ad wins, and so we observe heterogeneity, or let's say variety, or the conditions we're interested in, ambiguity and non-ambiguity within advertiser and even within a campaign. So it's kind of a quasi-experimental setting. Time window, United States, many different categories, and our primary dependent variables are click-through rate and conversions. And conversions in this case are really purchases. So it's not just email sign up, but it's hard purchases.
And Jochen, platform? Is this where is this posted? Is this social media? Is this going all over the place in the web?
Yes, it's these kinds of ads. Imagine you read the news, and at the end you see like the end of news article ads. And you know what kind of there are these throw out the vegetable kind of ads, but they're also, let's call them proper ads. So it's not on social media, but it's on news sites and stuff like that. Unfortunately, we do not observe which publisher it was distributed to. I think it's more problematic for other projects where we work with the data. But the unobserved targeting of this platform, that's clearly a limitation of the field data, and that's why we also go to the lab and also field experiment. So what is ambiguity? Here's the hearing aids example, and as I mentioned, the cool thing is we have the text and image, right? So we have this 2x2 matrix which says, let's look at this hearing aid example. I have ambiguity both on the text and on the image level, and if it's here, you only see a smiling man with closed eyes, and this product will make you smile. If you look at this, you have no clue what it's about, right? It can be anything. It can be hearing aids, it can be a dating platform, it can be Viagra, it can be, you know, it's like all kinds of things. But it's really unclear. Then on the other extreme, we have a clear image with hearing aids, and we have in the text it says these hearing aids will make you smile, right? So that's the clear. And then also when we started off, the question was, are the off diagonals, are they clear or ambiguous? Right? And empirically, our data suggests that the off diagonals are clear, because as soon as one element of the ad tells you what it's about, the ad is clear, right? So these hearing aids will make you smile, or this product will make you smile. It's not as in your face as this one, but the off diagonals behave more similar to the clear ad than to the ambiguous. So how we split the conditions is ambiguous versus clear.
I mean, there is a processing difference, right? I mean, visual is just easier to process, so there is a layer that is different.
Yes.
Where you could envision if it's more visual dominant content.
Yes.
Then ambiguity is lower because our visual sense is just overpowering others that require more cognitive processing.
Yes.
So I think you could form a hypothesis where one is outperforming the other.
Exactly, and even in terms of the processing sequence, right? Is this catching our attention, and we want some ambiguity here, and then the clarity here, because this might be too clear, right? So, but we don't go into those details yet. Let's see what the reviews suggest. So we have the processing sequence. Yes, and I think it's also a nice question, which we are not yet exploring, is this notion of an image says more than 1,000 words, right? If you think about clarity, these hearing aids will make you smile. I think you can be, my ad hoc interpretation is, you can be way more clearer with text than you can be with hearing aids. It's fairly clear, but I would say there's less clarity on this than stating these are hearing aids. But that's, again, a different story. Oh yeah, it's animated. I don't know why. So here's a small ambiguity quiz for you. What is this ad about? Yeah. Laptop. Any other suggestions? Development service. Hygiene products. Yes. Software, right? And in fact, you see there's already different predictions. So let's click and find out, right? It's actually for antivirus program. What is this ad about?
Still clickbait.
Yes. This is for a TV stick, right? You don't need the TV cable anymore. Find out why mechanics don't want you to know about this device. What is that? It's about a car gadget, right? Something in your car. And the last one, will this tag kill off cable? What is that? This is actually a real world pair. This is the TV stick which belongs to this ad. All right, so there we have the ambiguous combination. You look at the image and will this tag kill off cable? And you're really like, I don't know what's going on. So maybe I click. Okay, so good job on the quiz somehow. So methodologically, we ask, can we predict if a consumer knows what the ad is about? So the quiz we played with thousands of consumers. So we have an ad, we have human perception or human predictions, we have machine predictions. So it's more or less our training data to those of you familiar with machine. Who of you have some familiarity with machine learning? No way. Supervised machine learning, you have training data, and then you take the training data and teach something to a machine. And we teach the machine if an ad is ambiguous or unambiguous. Because with 50,000 image text pairs, it's nothing a research assistant can manually could, but it's expensive and time consuming. So we train a scalable method which can deal with this multimodal data. And this is also what, when we discuss this with the industry, I mean, they're fascinated about it. Think about, you have an ad and the model tells you this is ambiguous or not ambiguous, coupled with a finding if ambiguity is successful or not, which is still the cliffhanger, which we will see in a second. So what do? We purposely decided to train two separate models because it's possible to just train one multimodal model, let's say like a transformer model, which takes in the image and the text in parallel, embeds the image and text, concatenates the embeddings, and then predicts the aggregate ambiguity score. But we decided to train two prediction models. Imagine you have a situation where an advertiser only has the image or only the text. So this also generalizes to different contexts. And the architecture we use is the VGG16 architecture, which we also use in the brand selfie. We tested alternative convolutional neural networks, and the results are consistent. So if you're interested in convolutional neural networks, we're working on a benchmark, and the current best model we tried is the ConvNext. So it's a convolutional neural network leveraging the improvements from, or taking some inspiration from transformer models, because they're also plain vanilla vision transformer models. So ConvNext. And so humans rated, can you tell what type of product or service is being sold? We median split, and then we predict. And this is a model we store, and then we will also share together with our paper.
And it was unaided or aided? Did they have such different categories of products, or did they just?
They just saw. No, we just gave them real ads and asked, can you tell what product is being sold? So we did this literally one by one.
Yeah.
Can you tell what product is being sold? Can you tell what product is being sold? So it was really only focusing on the image and text element. So unaided. And yeah, we do transfer learning. So we don't train the network from scratch, but we take a model which is already pre-trained and then fine-tune it, which is, I guess, is just common if you do supervised machine learning with unstructured data. Then there's text ambiguity. And here we use distilled Roberta base. It's a distilled version of Roberta, which itself is an improved version of BERT, the model some of you know, like by Google. Roberta is by Meta, and distilled Roberta is by Hugging Face. So it's kind of how the community builds on top of each other. Also here, our robustness checks for architecture. We found consistent results, and we did the same. We rated the ad titles, split the titles, and then predicted. You see some details on the architecture, but I think this is really not the core element of the paper. And here are some twin examples, and I think this is really cool about the data set, that, as I mentioned, we observe this title, find out what every dog needs. What does every dog need? I don't know, right? I don't have a dog. And we have then the unambiguous, the clear, which is some kind of itch relief, right? So this is some food or medicine for the dog, and find out what every dog needs: a hug, a kiss. We don't know, right? This is from this combination, we don't know what the product is about. We have the same twin example. We have twins in both directions. We have same title, different images, same image, different titles. Yes, please.
I'm wondering, so, but you didn't show what the actual product was, right? To the people rating.
No, we never gave them the ambiguity relief, and the M-Turkers are still wondering and scratching their heads. Yes.
I'm wondering, what if someone thinks he knew, like, why did you decide not to show the actual, like, ambiguity relief? Because what if someone thinks, yeah, I know.
Yes.
I have a very good envisioning what the product is.
How could it affect our, because this is just collecting the training data. This is not yet a lab study or anything. It's just sending them through thousands of images and obtaining 5 ratings per image, averaging them. So I know we are being mean by not telling them what the image was, but we need to find out from them, because we don't have a ground truth. What is our ground truth if something is ambiguous? We don't know. We ask humans. And there's, of course, some distribution in ambiguity perceptions, but we just take the mean for simplicity. Yeah. Good. So this is the twin, same image and different titles. Here's some store. We don't know what it's about. And unambiguous, the best value Windows tool in 2020 every PC owner needs. So it's some Windows tool. Most computer owners don't know this. Do it today. What should I do? All right, update my Windows PC, download antivirus program. Yeah. Another question?
What is expectation? I think you showed that it might lead to an expectation. Dissatisfaction.
Yes.
Gap.
Yes.
Wouldn't it be important that therefore the ground truth is established? Whether there was actual ambiguity
yes.
or not?
We do that in our lab experiment. We do exactly that. We have a two-step setting where we have an ambiguous on clear add, and on the second step we have a landing page. And the landing page is the ground truth. But here we know the ground truth because we designed the experiment. And what we did, and so I'm not just teasing the tool, but I'm showing you, I'm now taking these real two titles from the advertising campaigns. And this is a screenshot from Hugging Face. I can switch to my browser in a second. And you see, we just plugged in this title and our tool predicts this is clear. And here we plug in this title and our tool predicts this is ambiguous. We don't know what this is about. Right? And this will be released together with our paper, and people can just use it and predict and play around with different titles, and our tool tells them it's ambiguous or it's unclear based on human labels. And why? Yeah, and here you see it. It's actually my Hugging Face account, Jochen Hartmann. Ambiguity is still Roberta based. The architecture, our objective. There's a base model and a big one. And together with our working paper, we will just release it. And it's similar to the paper I'm working on with Anouk, hi Anouk, and Christian on MindMiner, where we also trained a model which predicts from customer reviews if consumers attribute a mind to their smart assistant. And also that's part of our paper. And I think I think and hope this is where the community moves. Philip, we also had a discussion on that, right? It's kind of the technical appendix, which is beneficial for the community, right? Yeah.
Can you go back to the Hugging Face?
Yes.
Can you, I'm not sure if you're doing this in the next few minutes, but
yes.
Can you white box a bit more? Like what are the features that I'll learn for clear and ambiguous stuff? Is it
that's a great
kind of language, or is it like certain keywords that make it more ambiguous?
It's an excellent question, Christian. Also linking to MindMiner, where we do all this white boxing, because we haven't done any of this in this paper yet, right? So I think I guess it's just my homework. What are some features just from knowing some of these? It's somehow question marks, thing, right? This thing will make you, so it's a thing instead of describing the product. In order to design our experimental setup, this product, right? So they're really like product, thing, these nouns as placeholders for the real product. These are features. the word this as well, but this is a bit ad hoc just from we should systematically do that.
Also language concreteness, there's so many things
Yes.
that might play a role. So it looked like the ambiguous stuff is,
Yes.
is a bit more clickbaity, like
Yes.
exclamation marks.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to understand what are the textual features
Yes.
that determine whether it's ambiguous.
It's really cool idea. And what we do is, so of course, one alternative explanation could be just language concreteness. So I will show in a second, we control for language concreteness and as well as image concreteness, right? Number of objects. And so we have this symmetry of text image, which is also really cool. Shunyan, who's clearly the image analytics expert, like with her Airbnb paper and like all these things. So we always have the symmetry. How can we operationalize it for text and for image? But it's a great point. I mean, we should definitely do that. And we do it all of that in the brand selfie, right, with the image heat maps and the text stuff. So I continue my advertising blog for distributing your models, and I think I'm really talking to the right audience here, because just to give you an example, it's of course extremely beneficial for the community. Think about Luke, this text analytics software. So many people in marketing are using it because it's standardized, it's easy to use, but we know, for example, for sentiment analysis, the accuracy is 20 percentage points worse than state-of-the-art transformer models. That's empirical fact, right? Now you could argue it's not intended to do sentiment analysis, but it has 2 columns, Posimo, Negemo, and people use it for that. So that's a problem. And just to give you an example, this is from a different project, also with Shunyan and Odette, where we trained an emotion classification model here. And this was just this month downloaded 1.2 million times. Think about the impact of academic papers, right? You're happy when your mom, your dad, and your sister read your paper, and you get a citation from another paper of yourself, right? It kind of, that's the impact and reach. And I think this in computer science, it's just amazing, like how these models pick up. And so there are almost 24,000 text classification models. There are more than 100,000, 200,000 models on Hugging Face for different purposes, but just for text classification, 24,000. And so we are ranking number 6 among this. This is just, and of course, if you go to the job market, I think this is just a different kind of impact that you can also bring to the table, which you're already doing in the lab. I know that for a fact with the voice analytics stuff, but just some additional encouragement. And here are 2 more examples. 2 of my dissertation projects here, the brand selfie one, where we released both the sentiment model as well as the purchase intention classifier, both on Hugging Face. You can use them and apply them to your data. And we did the same with our sentiment model in the 2023 paper. We trained a sentiment model on 15 data sets. And also this 100,000 downloads per month, collecting a lot of citations for people using Siebert. That's how we call our model. And it's also the last name of Christian Siebert, fun fact. And I think this is also a nice channel for citation acquisition, right?
Yeah, and the paper has by now, I think, already like 400 citations or so?
That's the 2019 one. Yeah, the 2019 one, my first dissertation essay. There we released the R script for the text classification. Yeah, but I think even this one, I'm not sure, 70 citation, and it was like released this year.
It's this one.
That's the latest one.
The other one was the benchmarking.
That was the benchmark. That's also a benchmark, but with transformers. And so really, the main point is like you can use that to your advantage, right? And you can help the community. Yeah.
Do you have an idea of how these models are used, given this activity?
Yes, so I receive a lot of emails by people from around the world, like literally around the world, who are using that to. I'm listing some citations also on the papers who are using it. They're using it to analyze news articles. They're using it to analyze. The Amazon Alexa team is using it to analyze emotions and speech. So it's used across by all people.
It's not just research, but also.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, and it's so easy to use it, right? Speaking of, I think, consistency across research papers, which builds trust, but also simplicity. For Luke, you have to install the software, you have to pay for it, and so on. Install transformers, load the pipeline function, just copy paste this title and then you're good to go, right? And my bad, I didn't update. It's great to present at St. Gallen today, right? So not customized, but yeah, and that's positive. Yeah, and I'm happy to share like any of the how you do it, right? How you train it. On my GitHub account, I have like how to train such a model. Uploading it to Hugging Face is just one parameter, push to the hub, and then it's pushed to the model hub. Even if you do like the traditional CB studies where you collect open-ended text, right? You can also classify the open-ended text and then make your model publicly available. Or Jonah Berger is using like et al. This model in a recent JCR to classify the purchase intentions of the comments of videos, I think TikTok videos. So I think this is really cool if the community builds on that and then they know what's in it. Yeah, so it's a common phenomenon. It's not just like 5% clickbaity, some edge phenomenon, but 40% based on our most recent models, it is of plus minus, which are ambiguous. Yeah, and we're slowly transitioning to the results. So what are the image and text controls we have? Christian, you mentioned it. So what about text concreteness, right? What about readability? What about if it's promotions? Like all these could be confounds of what we observe. And for image, we have symmetry, pixel entropy, saturation, brightness, contrast, number of humans. So a lot of different things. But the simplest thing is because of the quasi-experimental twin setup, we can just add image fixed effects and then control for all the image confounds and just have variation in the text. So we play around with that a bit as robustness checks. I think I don't have a separate slide on the econometric model. We observe clicks over impressions, right? Which is a proportion. So we estimate a binomial regression. It's also, for example, in the Tucker and Lambrecht 2019 paper on bias in STEM ads. Yeah, that's how we estimate our model. So it's assuming that every impression is a Bernoulli trial, right? Did the consumer click or not? So we estimate that clicks over impressions. And the nice thing is then you can interpret the coefficient. If you exponentiate them, it's kind of the change in the odds ratio of clicking. That's very simple to like a logistic regression in a way. Yeah, so ambiguous ads are good for clicks, right? That's what we see here. That's our full ambiguity dummy. It's the top left corner compared to the rest. It's good to get clicks, right? Maybe some part is curiosity, but maybe it's just appealing to a broader audience because they don't self-select based on their needs, because they can't self-select based on their needs when they don't know what it's about. Promotive content, here are some controls, but we have way more controls in here. We also control for how similar is the image and text content using clip, like a multimodal model. How similar is the image to the description of the category, using the category name as a text, and then the image as an embedding, and comparing is a beauty product close to the beauty category. We have landing page fixed effect, controlling for the fact are the ads advertising for different products. So this is already quite one advertiser has multiple landing pages. So this is even more restrictive than advertiser fixed effects. And yeah, so this is clicks. Yeah.
Question about
yes.
this. But isn't that like actually also logical that you have actually people clicking on it because they're interested, and then later on they realize, okay, it's not a product that I was shopping for. So basically,
yes.
that is like so wouldn't it be also interesting to look for adverse effects to the company itself, like besides actually not getting the conversion, which
yes.
makes a lot of sense, but rather that they have like some, I mean, the brand image
yes.
is negatively affected or something like this.
Yes, unfortunately, we cannot observe that with our data, but I can fully imagine. I mean, imagine it's a Coca-Cola doing that. Coca-Cola, I think it's a bad example because they wouldn't like, I haven't seen an ad where it's really not clear that it's Coca-Cola, but imagine they do that, they trick you into the funnel, and then at some point, yeah, they're like, okay, that has bad spillover effects. I fully, I can follow, but it's unfortunately nothing we can observe in our data set. If we go to conversions, and here we model conversions over clicks. So once I've clicked, do I convert? And we also look at the end-to-end funnel here. But let's look at each step. People click more, but they convert less. So that's, if we look at it's clicking, but then not clicking. And our lab experiment suggests it's I'm showing you super preliminary stuff. And I'm happy it's recorded for eternity. I'm just kidding. I have some very preliminary lab results. So it's conversions over clicks, which is negative. Now, what's the elephant in the room now? The question we need to ask. I get more clicks, but fewer conversions. What should the advertiser do? We need an end-to-end perspective, right? Is it the more clicks, are they compensating for the lower conversions? And they do not, on average, right? There are moderations to be explored, but on average, it doesn't pay off to be ambiguous, right? Because you lure some people into the funnel, but the downside of luring the wrong customers is larger than that.
Yeah. I'm curious to which extent you can say something about the conditional effects of ambiguity. So you're testing the main effect of ambiguity,
yes.
You're controlling for all these other
yes.
things, like promotion, word count, coherence, and so on and so forth. But it's plausible that the effect of ambiguity is also conditional on some of the verbs that you have already there. Like, for example, I don't know, I would expect that it's just more negative the longer the word count is.
Yes.
There's more to process, and that is even amplifying the negative effect.
Yes.
For ambiguity. But for others, for example, I haven't seen something on the actual brand. So, and you talked about the Coca-Cola.
Yes, yes.
So I wonder to which extent the effect is conditional on the kind of brand, not familiarity. It could be familiarity, but it could also be just how well known in general the brand is. So is this something that mostly less known brands are doing to just get more clicks?
Yes.
And it just, you could also say, let's not worry so much about conversion. If we maximize the clicks enough,
yes,
we just, by the law of large numbers,
yes.
we just get to a similar level compared to
exactly. Yes.
Brands. So could you say something about the conditional effect? Did you test for moderation? If so, which ones turned out to be interesting practically and also theoretically?
Yes. So we tested in the lab the moderation of category relevance, but that's a moderation on the person level and not on the contextual level. What we have not yet explored, but what we thought about is on a brand level, that there are some categories or on a category level which are by itself more ambiguous than other products. Think about insurance. I mean, create a clear image for an insurance or for a financial product. It's more difficult than creating a clear image for hearing aids. So that's the moderation we have thought about. On the processing level in terms of word count, and I think it's a great idea. We haven't yet explored it. And the question is, there are many things, like I'm suggesting now, the current mechanism behind this is really, maybe it's curiosity and some other things, but it's really attracting the wrong customers, attracting customers who don't have the need. So the question is, which moderation would help us to show some heterogeneity in effects, which is related to this wrong selection, you know? Because maybe some of these affect the processing of ambiguity and so on, but would that contribute to the overall story? That's probably you know better from like a consumer behavior perspective.
I mean, you could also do it just purely data-driven.
Yes.
Just test for all possible interactions. So let's say higher order of level 2 or level 3. So
yes.
maximum 2 or 3 interaction effects, and then you use a lasso and just focus on trying to understand, can we make sense of those things that are getting screened out by the lasso?
Yes.
And then to think about how to theorize about it.
Yes. We actually haven't done so, which is the fact with this multi-step approach, there's already let's say baseline complexity to this project. And this, I would say, with having now this one versus the rest dimension, it is slowly converging. You know how research works. It's slowly converging to some like, I like to say, call it powerful simplicity in a way, right? But I think it now is a good point to open it up again to some with some moderations. So yeah, thank you for raising that. Another comment?
No, I was just sort of wondering if you don't have like already like a segmentation effect in the people that are actually looking at these
Yes.
ads, because I mean, I'm like, for instance, I'm somebody that would never actually click on these and never look at them. And are not all of these customers that are they not more prone to be actually? I'm not saying I'm a good customer, but maybe like
I know what you mean.
in that sense.
Yes, and yes, I 100% agree. And we don't observe user characteristics in the field data. That's a clear limitation, and that's our transition to the lab experiment, where we say we know who's clicking or who's not clicking. And I think what is nice about the lab study, in each of the steps we had an open-ended text field where we asked the consumers a bit to explain their thought process, right? So it's to get insights into why they clicked or did not click. And we also know for some people, they would never click on an ad which is ambiguous, because they say someone wants to lure me. There's really this segment of clickbait resistance, but it's not across all consumers. So there's some heterogeneity in customers.
So following up on this, to which extent is there self-selection in the pages where it's advertised? So, for instance, I could imagine that there's self-selection if there is more clickbaity stuff on, let's say, TikTok, for instance.
Yes.
That's a certain type of consumer that is going to TikTok.
Yes.
Is that the same person that is hanging out for 2-3 hours on the Washington Post?
Yes.
Probably not. So there's also probably some self-selection going on who's visiting these pages, right?
Yes.
So did you explore? I see that you have a landing page random effect down there.
Yeah, also fixed effect. Yeah, it's quite consistent, but yeah.
Can you say something? Did you explore this a little bit? To which extent it might be self-selection at the.
Yes. So the landing page is the step after clicking on it, right? So that's a bit more a control for what's the product. We do not observe the publisher where it was shown, the TikTok versus Washington Post. And that is beyond the, let's say, user level targeting. That's a confound, because maybe ambiguous ads are just easier to target or less easy to target, and they're distributed in different contexts, appealing to, that could potentially explain some of the effects. And that's also why we turn to we are working on getting a data set with, let's say, less targeting concern, which hopefully arrives soon to validate some of it. But yeah, we seek to address this limitation with the lab study and the field experiment. And this is the example with landing page fixed effects, which is like the same effects. And yeah, so lab study, and I mean, feel free to shoot, because this is something we ran very recently, and I have one slide which is really a construction site, but I'm hoping to get some valuable feedback from them. So it's a 4-cell design. We ran it on prolific between subjects. The main conditions are ambiguous versus unambiguous, and we pre-registered that we're interested in the top left corner against the other 3. So we are not interested in the 4. We can split it up, but it's ambiguous versus the rest. The mean age, female, and we had a very restrictive English language test, because here, if you need to process the text, we need to make sure that people know they need to be able to understand language. And prolific, the data quality, of course, is way better than MTurk. That's also our experience with that. It's for hearing aids. And for hearing aids, we have a collaboration opportunity with an industry partner for field experiment. We're working on that as we speak. And these are the conditions. Surprise, surprise. It's the same as I used it. So it's same text, same image. And these are the stimuli we used for our lab experiment. Controlled setting, same publisher, because it's the same context. So publisher and user level unobserved factors are ruled out. First, manipulation check. What product do you think this ad is for? And here's the Viagra. So I didn't make it up, right? Toothpaste, something, hair, whitening, teeth, medicine, medication, outdoor, dysfunction, like all different things. That shows you the ambiguity of the ad on an unstructured text level, which is how I would do a manipulation check. I have the more traditional manipulation check here. And the unambiguous, it's hearing aids. Right, maybe some headphones, which is just people not paying properly attention, but or maybe it's because they only saw the image and not the text. So, but overall, we find ad clarity is rated. It's a binary question, clear or not clear. 80% think it's clear, and only 3% think it's clear for the ambiguous ad. we have 4 bipolar items, and this is the first thought. Is it hearing aids? 74% mention hearing aids, and nobody mentions hearing aids on the ambiguous. Okay, if you look here, there are no hearing aids over there. That's just the manipulation worked. And these are the results. What do we see here? Let's start with a model-free evidence on the left-hand side. We see the clicking likelihood and the purchase likelihood. And on the first page, they saw the ambiguous or unambiguous ad. And on the second page, they saw the landing page, which was buy these hearing aids. That's the price. That's the Amazon rating. It looked a bit like an Amazon store. For the unambiguous, for the clear ads, the clicking likelihood was significantly lower compared to the ambiguous ad. So the ambiguous ad attracted more people. But if we go to the purchase likelihood is significantly higher for the unambiguous ad than it is for the ambiguous ad. So I'm attracting more customers to click, but people convert if they knew what was the ad about on the first page. The regression analyses that we ran here, so it's just confirming what we see over there. The clicking likelihood is significantly higher. Then we had a question, clicking likelihood as a Likert scale, and would you click yes, no, just as an additional binary scale. This allows us to, for the purchase likelihood, and it's consistent with the logistic regression, to run the purchase likelihood on the full data set. How likely would you be to purchase? And to subset only on those who would say they would click, because this is mimicking the real world behavior. We observe people clicking, and then we have a smaller set of consumers, and we only want to know what they purchase or not. And this effect, I mean, goes through the roof in plain English. You know, if we filter only on those who would have decided to click, and then they are disappointed by what is happening, then ambiguous ads are significantly lower in terms of the purchase intention. So it's exactly consistent with our field data, with expectations, and with our pre-registration. So I think this is like very, very clean, especially like how this strengthens the effect.
So just to be clear, so I mean, so what is on the left-hand side?
Yes.
And this is always in the aggregate, right? So likelihood to click and likelihood
Yes.
to purchase.
Yes.
But what you're showing also in this very last column is that
Yes.
the net effect is actually much worse.
Yes.
So I mean, initially I was thinking, well, who cares? I mean, if they're generating more clicks,
Yes.
and even if the purchase rate is lower,
Yes.
that in the aggregate, if you just have enough people clicking,
Exactly.
it gets to a similar rate. But what you're showing in the very last one here
Yes.
seems to be suggesting that the net effect might be negative.
It's detrimental, and the negative might be the net effect might be negative. That's also what we showed in the field data in the third column, where we estimated clicks over impressions. That's the net effect, which was negative on average. And here it suggests that the effect is even stronger. And the logic of the advertisers is there are different options to run successful campaigns. Either you have like a solid campaign with solid conversions, or you try to optimize clicks and hope that's really like different tactics that advertisers do in the real world, but it does not seem to pay off. And there is the world is not binary, ambiguous, non-ambiguous. There's maybe some sweet spots and so on, or heterogeneity. But overall, our data suggests both in the field and in the lab that the net effect is negative.
I have two questions. So one is it you could think of this as one ad always serves the purpose to maximize purchase.
Yes.
But you could also think of this that for some advertisers, maybe purchase is just one element
Yes.
of many other elements. So if you just want to create awareness,
Yes.
or you want to just maximize clicks,
Yes.
so maybe if you think about this from an ecosystem
Yes.
of doing advertising,
Yes.
Maybe it's not even the intention for those that do more ambiguous advertising,
Yes.
because they have a different objective, not necessarily to maximize purchased on screen, but
Absolutely.
maybe maximizing first getting clicks, or
Yes.
for whatever reason.
Yes.
So is this something you were able to explore? So maybe they just have a different strategy or a different intention or goal.
I agree 100%. The data set that we analyze, if you run a campaign on this platform, you have to select what's your objective. Lead generation, brand awareness, generating clicks. All these ads have the intention to generate purchases. And I think it's really great comment, because we need to emphasize that. And we do have controls for advertiser fixed effect, but I think that like all of these, they wanted to generate purchases. And they didn't succeed in that. I think it's like inspiration for a sentence which needs to be in the abstract or even in the intro, right? I think that's
makes it even stronger.
yes.
And the second quick one is just variability. I mean, it looks like you have more variability in the ambiguous one because the error bars are just a bit, a bit wider.
Yes.
So is that coming from you just see more people at the bottom of clicking likelihood or at the top that they're just having? So where's the variability come from?
That's a great comment. I would anecdotally, I would expect it's rather from the bottom, from these people saying, "Oh, this is clickbait. I would never click on an ad which is ambiguous." But I would need to confirm. I mean, we can just put the dots here, like Christian Hildebrand style. So to analyze that, I think it's a great comment. And would you address that somewhere, or do you think it would be interesting?
I think it's for for understanding what's going on in the experiment.
Just basically that this one is also based on basically 150 in the blue one and 450 in the red one, right? Because you
yes.
So I guess it makes sense that there's
that's a great point.
Because you
divide
the unequal sample sizes, but I guess you control for that in the models.
Yes, so
that makes sense.
No, it's a great point. I didn't think about it. Still, there could be some. I would still explore the heterogeneity, but you're right. In the unambiguous one, we have 450 observation, which just drives down the standard error. Yeah.
A super simple one. I'm wondering whether this pattern turns out to be more or less the same in terms of the people that you filtered conditional and collected. If you use a very simple product that's relevant to every person.
Yes.
I'm just wondering.
No, I think it's a great comment. Let's assume we have a product that, yes, I mean, this effect becomes stronger the less relevant the product is for a broader audience. Clearly, I think I can completely follow that logic. And if our hypothesis or if our mechanism is on this, and that's the next, the slide of the next slide, if the mechanism is really this self-selection, but in a positive way and not as a limitation of the model way, then I think this could be a nice moderation. And that's why we say for a product with a high average need, we can turn off the effect because then we have a self-selection, which is, I think it's a great comment. Yeah. Nice.
Is there verbally following up on Jonas's realization that there are 3 conditions in the red bars?
Yes.
Are there differences, or do they perform similarly?
There are some. They are not performing as like exactly like this, but they are performing more similar to the clear than to the ambiguous one. So it's directionally the same, but we will put the 4 bars in the appendix. So this is. Yeah. Okay, so what? There's a moderation here. We asked how relevant is the category for you? And what we see is if the category is very relevant for the people, so the main effect, it's mean-centered. Main effect is, let's see here. So if you have a very high category relevance for ambiguous ads, you are you're less likely to click. What does it mean? For clear ads, if we just flip the interpretation, the higher the category relevance, the higher the CTR, which is intuitive. If the ad is clear and you have a need for hearing aids, then you click more. That's a bit, the opposite direction is a bit more complex to process, but that's what we find, which is, I guess, just cute and anecdotally the moderation, but I like the product level moderation as well. So this is the, you can't see the big green sticker up here. Let me see if I purposely put a big disclaimer, highly preliminary. I want to make sure it's on the recording. So what I do, Christian mentioned it, I do text analytics, right? So I looked at the open-ended text on the clicking side. Why would people click or not click? And then it's for a hearing aid, which I don't need, so I wouldn't click. I don't need the product. I never click on ads. I don't need a hearing aid. I don't need it. So there's a lot of people, and these are, as you see here, condition, which is ambiguous versus unambiguous, and don't need, I just checked, do the people say don't need. For the ambiguous ads, it's 85 people saying don't need, and for the clear ad, it's for the ambiguous ad, it's 0, because people can't self-select on not needing something if they don't know what the product is about. So this is the, I don't know, just a manipulation check, I guess, I don't know. And so I computed the need share, which captures the share of words referring to not needing hearing aids compared to the total word count, the Luke logic, right? So here the don't need would be 50%, and yeah, I don't. Maybe you can tell me, because I wanted to run a mediation with this binary don't need, and somehow it didn't work out. Maybe because I had 0 observations here, but maybe I guess it's me. But that's why I needed to operationalize a continuous mediator here. How does it look? It's not a fully fledged mediation. It's like step by step, right? Highly preliminary. Ambiguous ads allow for lower needs matching. I don't know what it's about. If it's ambiguous, I can't match that I need hearing aids, right? So that's negative. If I match my needs, I'm more likely to click, right? So the overall effect is negative, but ambiguity has a positive effect on clicks. I mean, please shoot sharply if you cannot follow, if it doesn't make sense. So what I regressed here is just don't need share on the condition, and you see if the ad is ambiguous, then people write less that they don't need the product. That's exactly what we showed also in the manipulation check. So this is the negative path we have here. And then we have the, tentatively call it full mediation. I'm adding the don't need share. And I have the condition, which is insignificant. And the don't need share is the negative effect on clicks, which is what we would expect. If I don't need it, then I'm not clicking. I need to properly rerun it, and the question is, it's not like a curiosity process in a way, but it's really a showing that people self-select by not needing a product. So I'm super happy for any comments you have on this, because afterwards we are talking about next steps and conclusion. That's
Yeah, so I mean, I totally follow your logic. There's some matching going on.
Yeah.
What I find a bit difficult
Yes.
in terms of positioning
Mm-hmm.
is that you're putting emphasis on contrasting in the unambiguous condition.
Yes.
There is this needs matching.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the entire story before is it's clickbaity in the beginning.
Yes.
And there's this curiosity thing. And what you're showing here is essentially well, if there's just nothing that can serve as a hook, what this product is telling me,
Yes.
then you see a need share of 0. Right?
Yes.
There's just nothing in that category.
Yes.
So you see that the effect is to 100% coming from, if you give people some stimulus that they
Yes.
can assess it,
Yes.
then this is motivating you to later click and purchase.
Yes.
So what I find a bit difficult in terms of also
The
storyline is the focus.
Yes.
So before is so much about like the ambiguity part, and here the effect is 100% explained
clarity. Yes.
by if there's, you could also put this differently. If you say at least something
Yes.
versus nothing about
Yes.
the product, that is helping people to self-select into the purchase funnel.
Yes.
And I think that is not really helping to explain what happens with, and I mean, I think the idea is important, what happens with understanding why people in the ambiguous condition
Yes.
are clicking in the end. Right?
Understood.
What you're explaining is that people in the unambiguous / clear condition
Yes.
is that they can have some matching, there's something that's relevant, but I think you can't really so far explain what happens for the ambiguous
Yes.
condition.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the ambiguous ones, they can't match, right? Which is already, it's negative on needs matching, which is the positive. I mean, if we could replace this by some, but it's more than just rephrasing this variable and have some positive, I mean, inverse this variable and add a plus sign here, because we have the 0 observations in this category. But we could, I can fully, because the title is about ambiguity, and here the mechanism is about clarity in a way, right? If we want. Yeah.
So I felt this is definitely helpful.
Yes.
And I like the story about that there might be some like self-selection going on.
Yes.
But I felt this is like a really good manipulation
Mm-hmm.
check in a way.
Yes.
but I'm not sure that it helps you to understand the psychological process or mechanism, what happens for the people in the ambiguous. So that I think it would be good to, I don't know, to explore more and to condition almost the ambiguous condition and to see and focus only on them. Like, what are they writing about? Is there some signal? I mean, and they will probably write 95% of things that are not helpful to understand why they're clicking. But maybe there are some, and you're the expert on transformers. Maybe there's something that's getting picked up. That would help to explain.
I mean, some talk about curiosity, so we see curiosity there, but we don't feel it's the full story. You see the differences in needs match, and I don't need it, and whatever. If I'm not looking for hearing aids and I see hearing aids, I'm not clicking. So I think the effect is primarily coming from that. But I agree. I mean, I'll carefully go through them again. And
you could also think of this as a parallel process, right? Where you have the upper process that you have there. That's explaining why people in the click condition are clicking. But then you have a second parallel mechanism. So the second mediator at the same level on the lower part. It's focusing on the curiosity part. And maybe you can identify that there's just more curiosity related words that they're mentioning in their review that is explaining maybe for the ambiguous.
Yeah, we could think about that's an option for sure. Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
So I also had similar thoughts in terms of that is basically or needs to be the case that needs match is not there. I don't know what the product is. At the same time, I thought, and as you said, you have all these open text fields. And maybe it could be something like, okay, if you look at a potential needs match after clicks to see what's happening with purchases, because then everyone would know what do I see, along with your idea with expectation mismatch. After clicking, I know I could get a hearing aid. Okay, does that match my needs? And then something like a curiosity mechanism would be more. I'm not sure whether that is because you had some sources already so well explored that you don't want to go down that route, but I still think it would make sense that curiosity is in between here. Maybe we would have some measure in terms of also concreteness of the language or terms that are reflected in the open text fields here, but it could be something like Christian said, ambiguous leads to some sense of curiosity, uncertainty, leads to more clicks. Then I have a certain match need mechanism driving the effect on actual purchase likelihood. Because I thought this one is, don't know whether you asked the need matching on the before clicking in the before clicking instance, but then it is I guess as obvious as Christian said, zero, it needs to be zero because I don't know what I'm getting into. But if you ask that maybe in a later experiment, one step later, you might get some interesting results because then there could be some uncertainty. Okay, we didn't know about hearing aids. Maybe that's something for me. Probably hearing aids is then not the best example because it is very specific. But at a similar sense, and I still think you have a lot of different options.
No, I think it's also a great point to, if we have the full funnel in the field data, we have the full funnel in the lab data, but we're not yet thinking the entire process through the entire funnel. So either have parallel mediation or have a multi-step mediation. We will explore that. Then, I guess very briefly, the next steps. So what we do, we are currently setting up a randomized field experiment with the same stimuli. So we will test the hearing aids ads in the field. Very costly endeavor. Then we also want to disentangle the visual and textual ambiguity. I think some of you spoke to that, also to understand the different combinations. For simplicity, we've kept it simple here. And the twin analyses, as I mentioned, image fixed effect and only exploring text ambiguity. That's what we do. And today's feedback. So I definitely need to watch the Zoom recording again for all your great comments, because I think this is very valuable to further proceed with the project. In a nutshell, so multimodal communication is the new normal. I think this is clear to all of us. And we have this parallel processing of textual and image information. If you use deep learning, you can automatically process that, and not just in a lab setting with 600 observations, but 50,000 or beyond. And yeah, our current findings suggest that ambiguity can be a double-edged sword. You can increase CTRs, reduce conversions, and possibly there's overall a negative net effect. And having said that, yeah, thanks for your attention and like all the great comments. That's really, really helpful. Yeah. If there are any additional comments, I'm sure maybe we have time for 1 or 2 questions. But
how did you come up with the idea? Was the data set just there, and you thought, okay, what can we do with it, or did you have a more theoretical question first, and then trying to find a data set? Like, how did you start off with this project?
That's a great comment. So originally we started off with this project, and maybe that's a separate project. We wanted to look at the coherence. The working title was coherence, image text coherence. So we started with the clip embeddings. We had image emotions, text emotions, image concreteness, like all our control variables were originally the coherence between the image and text elements. And we found like many, so we have way more materials for projects here. But at some point, it just struck us that we had image and text ambiguity. So at some point, we found this of like a long list of variables, the most fascinating one, and have now, I think, over-engineered on control variables for our ambiguity story, right? Like all of it, there's like a lot of deep learning going on to just operationalize all of this, but I think we just found it most interesting. So I would say it's data set super exciting, then understanding the interaction of image text, and then it was really like a, I would say, yeah, data-driven empirical research approach, which I love, which was the same for the brand selfie. We had 250,000 images, and at some point, hey, there are hands on the images, the first person perspective. So let's understand what's going on. And then we had the first person self-handed brand, whatever. And at some point we converged to this powerful simplicity, which is the consumer selfie and the brand selfie. So I think this is how I very much enjoy and like research, if you really find something new, because I like to start from the data, and I mean, iteratively work with theory, but that's a red thread in my research, I would say.
Well, it's interesting as a quick follow-up. Is there something that you would, I don't want to say necessarily like recommend, like I know like people are different, right? Some people like to start off reading, I don't know, 50 different papers, and then sort of read beyond the different papers and think, okay, what's the bigger idea that might be interesting up in the air? You seem to be starting from an interesting data set, and then you see some particular finding that you find interesting, and you start digging deeper, and then there's something emerging of this. There's something, because we have a couple of folks starting off, or in the middle of the process. What is something that worked really well for you, like how to approach new projects, also when to give up projects?
Yes. I'm not good at giving up projects, so I definitely have way too many projects going on. But I think my main recommendation, which I would give, is a bit over investing on data collection, because I think, of course, it's cool to work on like recent topics. And when we started, like this multimodal deep learning model started to emerge, CLIP and like all these different models. So I think we started also a bit with like recent methods. But if you have a data set which is unique and difficult to obtain, you have like, it also gives you a peace of mind that you have like a defensible environment where you can explore and engage with the data. And also the brand selfie data set, like 6 or 7 years ago, it was very hard to obtain such a data set. This data set is based on a collaboration. Before you have NDAs and all this data shared, hundreds of gigabytes of data, then that's difficult to do. And then you can start exploring. So I think it's not entirely talking about this explorative approach, which I just enjoy, but like more from a strategic perspective. I think that's something that's worked out quite well. And which I try now with generative AI. It's so easy to generate content, right? You click, and then showing that the generated image performs better than a human image. This means someone will publish it, right? But that's too easy, right? So let's think about, with generative AI, how can you build a moat? That's how you say. How do you have like a defensible research setting where you can just engage in research and don't need to to freak out that the idea is gone tomorrow. That's yeah, I think that's a bit, I don't know if it speaks entirely to your question or what you were hoping for, but I think that's also in our conversation, Philip. I think the data that you obtain and like how difficult it sometimes is, I think that's good. That's also what I encourage my PhD to do now. No, not do the quick win project because it's difficult to publish and someone else might do it over the weekend. I'm exaggerating, but yeah. Yeah, and I just love to work on cool topics. Like also with the diversity project we submitted this week, working on a similar data set, dynamics over 3 years, I think 250 billion impressions of the advertising data set, just a massive data set. And we show how demand and supply reacted to the murder of George Floyd in summer 2020. So advertisers, supply reacted, more black people in advertising, demand reacted temporarily, they're positive trend. So I think this is just something we're working on for 4 years, but I didn't have sleepless nights because it's very difficult to get such a data set. And let's see where this ends up, but yeah. But again, I'm at the beginning of my career myself, so I want to be careful with giving too generalizable advice, but that's some observations I can share.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just had an additional thought. Just thought I put it on the recording.
Yeah.
I very much like the first tree, basically, in terms of expectation met and curiosity. Something I thought just in terms of how you could potentially isolate the effect of ambiguity or curiosity. If you just also control for is the person in the market for a hearing aid, for example, because I think you get a lot of variability or a lot of noise, where you also couldn't really say, is it ambiguity, is it curiosity, or is it just, I don't want the product?
Yes, yes.
You could basically do a prolific, ask for whatever stimuli you're using, maybe something more generic just to increase sample size, and then only take those, or you could basically do both, but just have a variable that captures, is the person interested in the product from the start or not?
Yes.
Or not, and then see whether curiosity only works for maybe one of the two, and then also unmet expectation or unmet need.
Yes.
Because I could imagine there's a lot going on that differs between the two groups, and it would be a very simple thing. Just I think it's not too practically relevant because you wouldn't know the needs ex ante, but at the same time, probably some reviewers might want you to isolate an effect.
Yes.
That could maybe help. So
yes.
I hope that.
No, I think it's a great comment, and we do have this category relevance moderation that I showed. That's not category; it's hearing aids relevance. So, have you ever for yourself or for others been interested in buying it somewhat, right? So this speaks a bit to your comment, but we could even think of filtering out and understanding within groups what's going on.
Yeah. And your text. So where you classify this
yes.
for the need articulation, that's probably based on people just responding to an open text field at the very end.
You mean my unmet needs? So we have this open-ended text question on the first page and on the conversion page. So we ask, why would you, please describe your thinking process in a way, why you would or would not click. So also on the first page, they don't know yet it's hearing aids in the ambiguous condition. So also I think for the process, what I'm showing here, it's all taken from the second page where they now had the ground truth. So I think it's also interesting to explore on the first page, the different effects.
Yeah, but my thought was going into exactly that direction.
Yes.
I was thinking, so even also when they clicked.
Yes.
So I would, I mean, it just gives you a lot of stuff that is probably not helping with the classification, but I think there's a lot of stuff that you don't understand from each stage to the next.
Yes.
So a natural thing to do would be to just ask people. So you're doing this before they clicking on the ad,
yes,
but then also after that. So
yes.
understand, okay, why did you click on this ad? So it would be very explicit, but it would help you to maybe nail the curiosity story or whatever is going on in people's head. But essentially at every single point when you're going through the funnel, all the way until the very end when they say, yeah, I'm interested in purchasing the product, to just openly ask, why did you do whatever is happening in the process? Why are you interested in this product domain? Okay, the next stage, okay, you clicked on this ad, why did you click on this ad?
Yes.
You didn't click on this ad, why didn't you click on this ad?
Yes.
So, and I think that that would help to get a bit better understanding, especially what happens in the ambiguous condition.
Yes.
So I think that's at the moment, it might be curiosity, but it might be also other things that might be going on. They just hate it or whatever.
Yes, yes, and we see a lot of things going, because I literally read through all the 600 comments, because it's still doable. And another advice: stay as close as possible to your data. I think that's always super important, because that's where you get the insights from. And also this like clickbait self-selection of like some people really hating ambiguity, or some people no needs match, then the curiosity. So for us, it's really, we can't have like a 4-path mediation analysis. So maybe it's thinking about magnitude, like different things, how we approach the process. It's not our main concern of this project. I think just understanding the main effect is could be enough for paper, but I think we are curious ourselves to get some ambiguity relief on what the process here is. That's really, because it's not clear yet, right? That's yeah, great comments. I will look at the text again.
Cool. Other comments? Good. Yeah, I think we have a couple of people that signed up. So you have
yes,
yes.
I'm looking forward to that. No,
but
that's
I think
good.
It's just a reflection of the cool work that you're doing. So everyone wants to meet with you and brainstorm ideas or get feedback on their work. And I think it's yet another, I mean, not published yet, but yet another potential high impact piece. And I find it so fascinating, like how you really bridge different disciplines, and you're methodologically doing so much strong work. So it's yeah, great that you've spent your time with us.
Yeah, I mean, after the grand opening, thanks for the grand closing, Christian. It's really an honor to be here, and I look forward to all the conversations.